Hello, and thank you so much for tuning into my podcast. My name is Kara, and I'm a holistic health practitioner for both people and pets. After working for years in the conventional medicine field, I realized that while our lifespans may be getting longer, our health spans are rapidly shrinking. And when it comes to our pets, both their length and quality of life are decreasing. When I turned to functional medicine and a more holistic approach to health, I saw dramatic improvements for my pets, myself, and my patients. Join me each week as I merge natural health for people and pets by focusing on the root cause of disease and applying raw, real remedies that you can use to improve overall wellness for every member of your family, including the furry ones. Hiya everyone, welcome to this week's episode. Today I bring you the wonderful Pam Roussell. Since she was a very young child, Pam has always felt a special connection to cats. Besides sharing her life with cats throughout the years, her passion for fitness led to a degree in kinesiology with a minor in marketing from the University of Houston. She spent over 37 years in the fitness industry in various roles as a fitness professional. But when a foot injury that wouldn't heal led her to seek alternative, holistic, and natural medicine in 2005, it began a new journey of discovery and learning about holistic health that continues to this day. She began applying what she learned with her own cats with amazing results. But in late 2014, her cat Snow Bear died unexpectedly not long after receiving a round of vaccines required for boarding. And that tragedy inspired her to start her company, Purrrfectly Holistic. She writes a blog about various cat topics, offers multiple services for cats, hosts a monthly radio show, and operates an e-commerce store dedicated entirely to cats. Her passion for holistic health and the power of energy healing inspires her to educate and help cat owners to provide the very best in holistic health for their cat. As a board-certified holistic health practitioner, Pam has taken numerous courses in holistic health for animals, muscle testing, animal communication, Reiki, mind-body-spirit release, and more. And, of course, she is a full-time servant to 4 kitties, Gunner, Aylin, Skylar, and Breeze. I hope you enjoy this episode about taking a root cause approach to health, which begins now. Okay, and we are back with Pam from Purrrfectly Holistic. Thank you so much for coming on today. It has been, I think, a whirlwind of a couple of weeks for everybody in the holistic space, coming back from Super Zoo, and for me with moving, and for you with the holiday week. So I really appreciate you coming on, and I'm really, really excited for our conversation today.
It's going to be fun. Thank you for hosting me.
So I'm going to give everybody a little bit of an update on my life in case they're wondering. So I moved from California back to Buffalo, New York, which is where I'm originally from. In between that move, I went to the AFCO meeting in Omaha, Nebraska, and then to Super Zoo, which is in Vegas. And then from there, I got back from Vegas, drove from California to Seattle to go see my best friend, stayed with her for a week. And then my husband flew to Seattle because he already had to come back to Buffalo for work. So he flew to Seattle, hopped in the car, and we took a 10-day road trip across the country, and we landed back in Buffalo on Sunday. So that has been my 5 weeks. And it was fun, and it was exciting, and also it was exhausting. And admittedly, I ate a lot of naughty food, and I maybe don't feel physically my best because it's kind of hard to couch surf and eat healthy for 5 weeks.
No,
Yeah, but I'm excited to be home. I'm excited to get back into a routine, start my new job, and I'm excited to start the podcast back up. So this is going to be number 1 of podcasting at the new house. So I hope everybody can be kind in case we have any glitches, any weird Wi-Fi, any strange sounds. We're just going to take it as it comes.
there you go. We just roll.
We just roll with it. Our topic today is, I think, an incredibly important one because it's really, for me, the root of how you can approach health in a more holistic / functional / integrative manner rather than your conventional Western medicine approach, which is very reactive and symptom forward. And so we're going to focus on more of a root cause approach or analysis to health. And Pam, take it away.
Well, this is one of the things that I probably preach from the mountaintops all the time. And I think that it's missed. It is so, okay, let's back up. Rockefeller medicine came in and changed everything, 100 years ago, whatever it was, right? And it all,
almost 101, I think, this year, right? It was 1924.
yeah. So, the whole focus and mindset changed to symptom-based protocols and teaching and medical schools. And so that's how doctors have been conditioned to work. And if you call yourself a holistic provider, a holistic practitioner, that holistic word means whole. It is not tunnel vision into one spot. It is whole. It is body, mind, spirit. It encompasses the whole individual rather than, let's take a cat, for example, who might be throwing up, vomiting on occasion or whatever. We don't just look at why they're vomiting, which is what a vet would look at. And sadly, even some holistic practitioners, that's what they zero in on. And instead, we should be asking the question, why is my cat throwing up? Because that's in my opinion, that is where you start. You ask the big question, why is something happening? Because you want to peel back enough layers to find the underlying cause of that. And changing their food is not going to fix the underlying cause because there's a reason behind that symptom. And so a really good practitioner is going to start digging in and finding the answers. Why is this happening? And I think it's the opposite of reactive medicine, like you were describing earlier. But even online, like people are always asking questions, my cat has X problem. Do you recommend what probiotic do you recommend, or what are your favorite foods, or what? They're always asking for supplements or food recommendations or even medication recommendations, and it makes me want to pull my hair out because I
Yeah.
keep wanting to scream at them. Why is that happening? You've got to ask the why. And when you figure out the why behind something, it's easier to figure out what to do about it. Because when you drill down, there's in the training that I've learned, there's 5 major reasons why something like potential root causes on a generality kind of level. It's either toxins, it's parasites, it's tissue damage, it's nutritional deficiencies, or it's emotional. And so your answer is going to fall into one of those 5 categories. And then let's say it's toxin. If it's toxin related, you go dig into their history. Well, what kind of toxins have they been exposed to? Is it
Hmm.
glyphosate? Is it vaccines? Is it heavy metals? Is it flea and tick meds? Stuff? Is it toxins in their food? Is it, rancid fats? Is it, what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like
So
you
many things.
dive into all those categories and take a really detailed history approach and look at what has my pet potentially been exposed to if we think it's a toxin, for example. And chronic issues and some genetic issues will have tissue damage as their, the underlying root cause. Maybe they were born with some kind of birth defect or weakness in their heart, like genetic predispositions for things that there's like what do you call it? Like the heart
Mitral valve disorder, yeah, or murmur, yeah.
and things like that. It's a damaged tissue, but you can also have damaged tissue from like leaky gut. You could have
Hmm.
damaged tissue from toxin exposures. There might be more than one root cause, right? So that's why when I sit down with people, I don't just talk about what their current issues are. I have them go back to the very beginning. I'm like, let's talk about when you got your pet. Do you know their background? How old were they? What were they exposed to at the time? What was their
Yeah.
history? Were
Where'd
they
they come
given
from?
shots? Where did they come from?
Yeah.
Where was there trauma involved? Was it abuse situation? Was it a rescue? You know what I'm saying? So you start to look
Yeah.
at all these things that can contribute to issues and symptoms and chronic illness and disease patterns. But when you can start to pick things apart and point to, oh yeah, they got 4 vaccines within, 2 months and they put a dewormer on, and then they put a flea and tick med on them because they were itching, and I just start to pull my hair out.
Yeah. And then they got all those things, and I adopted them from the shelter or from the agency, and then I took them home to a brand new place. And I mean, When we
Yes,
think about bringing home our animals, of course, we do it with the best intention. We
of
want to give
course.
them a wonderful life, but it's extremely traumatic. They're being taken away from mom, they're being taken to a new place, they're being exposed to all of these things. And if it's a rescue, like 2 out of 3 of my dogs were, we have no idea what their previous traumas were, and we may never be able to find out. Maybe through communication, you could do some work there, but those could remain unknowns forever. And so another big thing that I think people don't like to think about, because it almost feels like we're pointing a finger in terms of exposure, is one of the things that our pets are exposed to the most is us. And if
Our energy.
we're stressed out and we're radiating anxious energy, angry energy, they are so empathetic and they pick up on that and they suck it up, and then they can start to display it too. I've seen a lot of really interesting patterns.
Yeah.
Human gets GERD, dog gets GERD.
It's called it's quantum entanglement. That's what the term is. Because our energies are entangled. We're living in the same space. We're sharing the same space. Our energies are crossing over. So it's actually a quantum physics term, quantum entanglement. We are entangled, and so therefore we can pick up on each other's energies. We can display and mirror each other's illnesses and things like that, and that's why that happens.
Oh, it sounds like Copper agrees. Or someone's dropping off a package, who knows? Yeah, I really love, first of all, I love that term. I think that's super cool. It's very like,
It's a science thing. It's
it's a science thing. I know. It makes me think we're about to start filming the 3rd Ant-Man movie, because, they go into the quantum realm. I don't know if you like Marvel.
Yeah, deal
But I love that you have those 5 most common categories, because that can really help people, maybe not narrow down isn't quite the right word, but choose some paths to look at that are more likely. I think it can be really difficult when you're like, well, it could be anything. I don't know where to start. It can make you feel very frazzled, very overwhelmed. And I think that emotional aspect is just so important. I would love to share actually a story of an encounter that I had with a patient yesterday at my new practice.
Yeah, definitely.
So a woman came in, and she came in for a blood pressure recheck because she had been doing her blood pressure at home and it was getting quite high in the 160s. She actually experienced a headache with it and could feel like her pulse, essentially her blood like rushing through her ears. And so she came in for a blood pressure recheck, and I'm learning the computer system. It's only my first week there, and I've never used this kind of computer system before. So I went in with another one of the providers just to do the computer. I wasn't even going to talk to the patient. And we walked into the room and she said, "Oh, how's it going today?" And the patient responded with, "Oh, it's going." And you know what that means, right? I know what that means. That means it's not a good day.
You're right.
But I think we're so used to hearing people say that, or we say it ourselves. We kind of brush it off and we're like, everybody has stress, right? And so they start the conversation and they're having a very important, very appropriate conversation. Are you putting your cuff on right? Are you putting your arm at the correct level when you're doing it, right? Are you waiting X amount of time? Are you taking your medications correctly? All of the things that still are very important things to know if you're trying to figure out why someone's blood pressure is high. And so they get to the end of the conversation and there's no really great reason for why her blood pressure is so high other than, oh, maybe you need more medication. And I interjected and I said, I just have a quick question. I just was wondering how you're feeling today. And this woman, it was like the floodgates opened. She had been dealing with severe family stress. A family member had passed away. There was a house that was in probate. We had family members fighting. Her mom has dementia. She'd never filed the will. Like all of this. I mean, and you could see this woman's shoulders were just tense and she was upset. And she's telling us about all these things. And she said she had to go to the lawyer today and she went to bed last night really stressed out about it. And she's just unloading on me. And by the time she was done talking, I could tell she already felt a little bit better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I followed it up with, what are you going to do to de-stress when you get home? And she thought about it for a minute. And then she got this little smile on her face and she goes, I think I'm going to paint. And I said, I think that's a really great idea. And I would really love it if you would take a picture of what you paint and show it to me when you come back next week so we can check your blood pressure again. How does that sound? And she was like, that sounds really great.
Mm-hmm.
And so we left the room and the other provider turned to me and she was like, that was amazing. Where did that come from? And I said, the core of every single patient is mental, emotional, spiritual health. And if we don't address that, you can't just address physical symptoms, right? You have to do the whole body. And she was like, that was fantastic, And And it's hard because not everybody has time for that. We actually ran over with that. In primary care, they give you 15 minutes with a patient. So that's going to be my biggest challenge, is being able to connect and serve my whole patient in 15 minutes, right? But I'm ready to rise to that challenge. So I think that if we can take that kind of example and put it toward ourselves and our animals, we'd be in a lot better shape.
That's so true. And I often talk about three sides of the triangle, right? So you've got physical, you've got emotional, you've got spiritual. If all we're focusing on is the physical side, which is what most people focus on, you're missing the emotional and the spiritual. But things happen to us on a spiritual level and then an emotional level, and then it manifests into the physical. So if we start thinking from the spiritual to the emotional first, so maybe that can help you when you're dealing with your next clients, instead of starting with just talking about how your physical symptoms are, just start with the emotional and the physical side and go, so how are things going for you? Because that is there's such a connection between those kinds of issues that create all the physical symptoms and the imbalances in the body. And stress creates an acidic environment. Stress disrupts homeostasis in our bodies, creates, negative symptoms. Name your symptom. You could pretty much link it back at some point to some kind of stressful situation. Even at, like, for example, pets who vomit or have a lot of food intolerance or regurgitation, digestive stuff. How many times has a vet stopped and asked, how are they doing emotionally? How's their environment? How do they get along with their other pets in the family? Is this a new pet? How many times have they been rehomed? How much trauma are they holding on to? Because that carries forward and it imprints onto the food that they're eating. And I don't think people realize how powerful those emotional blocks can be that can contribute to all those initial little things that are a little off. So he vomited just once last week. Yeah, it's probably nothing. But then it happens more and more and more and more because we're not addressing the why behind that. So I think, if I could leave anybody just to start thinking differently, ask the question, why is this happening? And don't just focus on the physical like you did yesterday. Ask, start to ask some deeper questions like, how are you feeling? How are things emotionally? How are things spiritually? How are you doing as a being? Forget the physical stuff for a second, because they are connected. But I think one what's the word? Predates of the other, right? One is the predecessor. The emotional spiritual can be a predecessor of the physical stuff. So if we start thinking in terms of three sides of the triangle instead of just one little aspect, we would get so much further in helping pets, helping people move past whatever their issues are. Because as you know, when we address the root cause of the issue, all the symptoms go away. It's like magic. So instead of, a pill for every ill,
Yeah.
because that's what we're so conditioned to as a society. We want the quick fix. Just give me a pill. I don't want to think about my emotional problems and stress, and I don't want to exercise, and I don't want to go paint. I don't want to go for that walk. I don't want to deal with the emotional stuff that I refuse to look at, that might be contributing to all.
Bury it. Close the door. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Let's just push that down a little bit further and see how that's working for you.
It's going to come out somehow.
It's going to manifest somehow, whether that's physically in our health, cancer, illness, chronic disease, things like that. It just does. Because
thyroid disorders.
It's just.
Did I say that out loud? Oh,
yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. That was the cause of my thyroid problems. I have thyroiditis right now. I gave myself autoimmune thyroiditis from stress and anxiety. It's crazy once you realize, something manifests. Sometimes it comes on so slowly and insidiously that it's been happening for a while, but you don't realize it until you all of a sudden can't compensate anymore. Or it gets so bad that someone else says, are you okay? You seem a little bit off. And peeling back, when I really stopped and thought, what could be the cause of these lab values and symptoms I'm having? The number one cause was stress. And the number one answer is lifestyle modification and being truthful to yourself, right?
Well,
My top answer is not going to be levothyroxine or, even desiccated thyroid, right? It's going to be enhancing my nutrition, doing self-care,
mhm.
managing my stress levels, choosing myself sometimes, even if that means not choosing someone else, right? And looking at my whole physical self, my entire emotional self. And when it comes to spiritual, I think some people can be put off by that word. And as a person who's not conventionally religious, I interpret spiritual as what gives you hope? What do you believe in? What do you feel connected to? For me, that's nature.
Mhm.
And it's part of the reason why I was so adamant that I needed to be able to take this road trip rather than just flying back to Buffalo, because boy, did 10 days in nature help reset my everything. I grounded, I hugged all the trees.
Mm.
I put my hand in the streams, I put my feet in the dirt, I picked up rocks and I brought them home. And if that's spiritual for you, that's great. And if spiritual for you means going to church and sitting down and going to Bible study or reading, then that's also amazing. It's whatever resonates the most for you.
We're all spiritual beings stuck in a physical body. So we all have that spiritual essence, that soul inside of us. So what makes your soul happy? And if we can get back to being honest and true to ourselves, what makes us thrive? What makes our spirit rise? Are we connected? Do we feel connected? Do we feel isolated? Do we feel like we're on purpose? Are we just going through the motions, being dragged around by other people's expectations or whatever that might be? Like, what are we doing for ourselves, our spirit inside us? Emotions are expressions of feelings that we have held onto, ideas, beliefs, whatever that kind of sit inside of us and cook, manifest into things. So tap into those like, what are you feeling today? Are you feeling anxious? And then you have to, just sit and think about, what am I thinking about? How am I feeling today? Am I feeling stressed? Am I feeling worried? Am I filled with doubt for some reason? Tune into those kinds of things. And when it comes to our pets, like, observe them. How are they engaging? How is their body language? How's their appetite? How's their energy level? And if you start to see that shift or change, don't just have a knee jerk reaction, just kind of sit and observe and watch and think about them. Like, when did it happen? When did this come on? What was going on at the time? Like, take a 40,000-foot view instead of zeroing
Yeah.
in and being worried about a specific symptom. Just level up a little bit and look down as if you are the independent observer trying to put a puzzle together and go, what's off? So where did these pieces come from? What was going on? It's all about trying to tap into our intuition and our powers of observation, because we have those skills, but I think so many times we delegate those out to other people to make decisions for us because we don't want to make decisions, or we feel like we're not capable of it. We truly are.
Yes.
We are
Yes.
truly capable of making those decisions if we have all the tools in front of us, we have enough information that we can just sit and study, think about it, and then follow that guidance inside you that says, no, that's not the right path. You need to go this direction. Or that's not the good piece of advice. Don't do that. Maybe you don't know what to do, but that doesn't feel right. So I tell people all the time, go with your intuition. If it's telling you to do something, do it. I don't care if you're scared, do it, because it's leading you on a direction that is going to be for your benefit. And that can be a scary road to be on, especially when you don't see more than 2 feet in front of you and you're just kind of it's called stepping out on faith, right?
Yeah.
You got to make the
Yeah.
shift before things can change. But so many people get stuck in that fear cycle because they're too afraid to change, even though their heart is telling them, this is not a good idea. I don't feel good about this. I don't want my pet on that medication. I don't want to have that surgery. I don't want to use that pet food that's processed and, whatever. But they're too afraid to say, no, let me go home and research, or let me go think about that. It's forcing you to make a decision right to right now.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel afraid to question
Mm-hmm.
pet professionals, especially if you're at the veterinarian's office.
Yeah.
A friend of mine called me the other day. I was just getting ready for bed. She's on Pacific Coast time, and she called me and she said, everything's okay, but my dog got hit by a car. And she's walking and she like went down the stairs, but she seems really stiff and I'm worried about her. I'm going to take her to the vet. What should I ask for? And I asked a few more questions. I kind of gave her a rundown of what I thought would be most appropriate depending on what the physical exam looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, they're going to give you a printout of what they think they should do. Before you make any decisions, call me. So a couple hours goes by and she calls me back and she said, I sent you a picture. This is what they recommended. And some of the things they had on there, I was like, ugh, I don't know that I would choose this. So she had a few scrapes from the car, and so they shaved and cleaned it, and they wanted to give her amoxicillin. And I was like, well, there's no sign of infection, and just because you have a scrape does not mean that you're going to get an infection. I personally would not recommend giving these because her body has already been through some trauma, and she's going to have to do some healing, and it's going to be harder for her to heal if we disrupt her gut microbiome. So I would say maybe politely decline that and tell them that if she does develop signs of an infection, you'll call back, and that may appease them. She goes, okay. She texted me about an hour later and she goes, I declined the antibiotic, and boy, were they unhappy with me. And I said, that's okay. You advocated for your pet, and that's completely fine if they didn't appreciate or if they didn't agree with your decision, because at the end of the day, it's your decision. You did a great job. I'm really proud of you.
Yes.
And then, I gave her some
kudos.
Naturopathic options, essentially. Like you could have some coconut oil, you could have some manuka honey, you could have some colloidal silver, whatever, so, and just like supporting the body naturally. But it's okay to say no thank you,
mm-hmm.
even if they get upset afterwards.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you have to change your mind. That's okay. Doesn't matter.
That's exactly right.
So it's all about empowerment. Empower yourself, mm-hmm. empower your clients, and empower your patients that they know their pet best. Right? And at the end of the day, you're the advocate and you're the decision maker.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time, because you can't go back and undo a decision that you didn't want to make.
Yeah. Even when my cat had a dental, they wanted me to give antibiotics because he had a tooth extraction. And I said, well, were there signs of deep infection? They said, no, it's just routine. And I said, I'm not giving an antibiotic because it's routine. And then I even pulled up the guidelines that said like antibiotics are only indicated if there's evidence of infection, and we don't recommend them routinely anymore. And they were like, well, that's just how the office does it. And I was like, I'm not gonna take them. And they really badgered me and tried to make me feel bad. And so finally, because I didn't want to hear it anymore and I really wanted to go home, I said, all right, I'll take them. So I paid the $50 and then I threw them in the trash can on the way out. So sometimes you just have to go, okay, thank you. And then still make your decision when you leave.
I've become very emboldened, I guess, in my age. I just say no, thank you, in a polite way. And I kind of say it in a way that's like, my decision is final. Next subject, please.
Yes.
I'm like, we're done with the subject. I'm not talking about that now.
Yep,
but I've also gone into vet clinics, and thank God I've had some really open-minded vets where I'll just muscle test all their recommendations. Right there. Like, you tell me what your top 3 things are, and I'll tell you if his body needs it or not. And I'm like, yes, no, or, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, his body wants this, so we're going to go with that. And they were just like, okay. They didn't.
Man, muscle testing is so cool. I really want to learn how to do that one day.
It's not hard at all. But it has saved me. It has saved my cats. It works. It's like, why guess when you can just test?
Yeah. I love that. You're very wise, Pam.
It's called aging and experience. I think it's more experience than age. I think it's experience than more than that than age. So yeah. But
age is just a number. I'm a perpetual child.
You get to the point though where you're tired of making the mistakes, right? Because that was me. I used to do everything wrong. And if we don't learn from the mistakes and correct that behavior next time that opportunity comes around, you're going to keep going through that same lesson. It's like this wheel of karma, right? We're going to keep going through that cycle over and over and over again until we get it. And we make a different choice and we have a different outcome, and you break the cycle. That's, we learn the most from traumatic experiences and we learn from hard lessons, right? From mistakes.
Yeah.
We pay for mistakes. Sometimes we pay dearly for mistakes.
Yep.
But hopefully you learn something from those. So you don't keep making them. So when that next pet comes along, you can do something different and you'll be amazed at the outcomes are so different. Like the cats I have now are the healthiest cats I've ever had because I don't vaccinate them. I don't put flea tick medication on them. I feed them fresh food, and they have a very comfortable, stress-free lifestyle. Well, guess what? You're going to have really happy, vibrant pets when you have that kind of situation. But that's because I advocate for that and I push for that. And it's not somebody else making those decisions that go against those values that I've become I've come to love and embrace because I see the difference. The whole idea is to have pets who live long, happy, healthy lives. But there's a lot of things that in the conventional space that we have done for so many years that are contrary to providing long, happy, healthy lives. It's quite the opposite. So it kind of goes back
I
to
know.
finding root causes, and when you figure out something that is not good, don't do it. Just say
Yeah.
no. Just
I
I'm
agree.
not going to expose my cats to that anymore. Did
And
that.
myself, right?
Been
I'm
there,
not going
done
to
that.
expose myself. I'm not going to expose my family. And that's why I try and harp so much on this podcast, which is about people and pets. Everything we talk about applies to the whole family. Because if you're not also, it's, I mean, wonderful if the first thing you do is you take these steps and you make these decisions for your fur baby. But then the next step should be for you to take them for yourself and for your spouse and for your kids, right? Because if you are not taking care of yourself and holding space for yourself and prioritizing your own health, you can't take care of anyone else, and that includes your animals. And I know what that feels like, and I've seen far too many people who let their own health fall by the wayside, who then couldn't step up and do what needed to be done for their animals. And that's really, really heartbreaking. And, I think that being able to really tie it all together is a missing link that is so easy. I feel like it's right in front of our faces, but we just don't realize it until someone's like, oh my gosh, that does make sense. And that's how it happened for me. I got here because my dog had medical problems. Well, I was sitting in the kitchen cooking food for him, and then 2 hours later I would go to the hospital and I would shove drugs down everybody's throat. And it didn't take very long for me to go,
Wait a minute.
hold on. Everything I just said to X person over here on the internet about their dog is completely the opposite of what I just said to the family member of my patient at the hospital. Why?
Mm-hmm.
My animals changed my life. They changed my practice. They changed my health. They changed my way of thinking. They changed my job. They changed everything for the better. And it was a long road and it was a tough road. But I'm so appreciative, and I just want to hammer it into everybody's brain that if you're doing these things for your animals, you have to do them for yourself too. Please. Your body will thank you.
Well, and that's kind of how I started. Is we had health issue that wasn't being resolved with conventional means, and so I ended up going to a Chinese doctor and got results in 8 weeks. 8 weeks, and she said, "Don't come back." And I was like, "What? What?"
Amazing.
Well, doctor tells you not to come back, right? And so that was kind of like my aha, eye-opening moment. So when I started learning about changes that I can do for my own self and using herbs and supplements and things like that, then my cats came into the picture and started having challenges. And then you realize that, oh, wow, I can use the same things for them because herbs work for them. Oh my gosh, changing of diet works for them. Who would have thought?
Would you believe it? These things work for this other mammal over here.
And so, when you start to see the connection, it's so funny because you probably have seen this too. Like so many people will say, well, I do all this. I have such a holistic mindset for myself. I don't know why I never thought about it for my cat or my dog. And like, where's the disconnect there, And then when they get it, they wake up, they're like, what?
Like the cartoon light bulb went off over their head and they're like,
Yes. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I had
Yeah.
no idea. Like, welcome to
Yeah.
the club.
Well, so then I have a question, a follow-up question for you. Some people, many people, may say that 8 weeks is a really long time to see results. If they said that to you, what would your answer be?
That was for a cure, but I saw results weekly.
Okay.
Let me give you an idea. I'll give you more information. So I had an inflamed bone in the bottom of my foot from wearing a pair of shoes way too long in fitness. Okay. And my feet are thin, so I wasn't providing enough padding for them. So the little sesamoid bone that's underneath your big toe metatarsal got injured and so inflamed that the blood flow stopped and the bone was dying. And so wearing a boot for 3 months did not fix the problem. Trying to rest it did not fix the problem. So I went to a Chinese doctor who did acupuncture, and she put me on herbs, and she put these foot patches on my feet that I would wear at night Chinese herbs,
Detox.
they would
Yeah.
it would just help all the inflammation and all of that. And so
Were they disgusting when you took them off?
no,
Did it pull like?
it wasn't a detox pack.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
more of just like herbs that help promote the healing,
Okay.
like inflammation and things like that.
Gotcha.
And I didn't do that for very long, maybe like 2 weeks or something. It wasn't very many. But I would go in for acupuncture like twice a week. And every week that injury got smaller and smaller. I mean, it started out, it felt like a golf ball under me. It was so inflamed. And it would get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And there was less and less pain. And there was more and more healthy tissue again. And to the point where there was no pain and there was no more inflammation. So I saw the progression. It was like this, like improvement on a weekly basis every time I went. And I have to
Amazing.
always tell people this. I am deathly afraid of needles. So to make myself even conceive the thought of going to have acupuncture scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I in the bottoms of your feet, no less, where
Yeah.
the most nerve endings, right? Your hands and your feet are the most painful areas to put needles, by the way. But I was desperate because it was either this or I would go get surgery. And I'm like, oh hell no. I'm not doing that again because I had this happen on a different foot and I had the surgery a few years earlier for the same exact problem. And I'm like, oh no, I am never going to go through that again.
Again.
So
Yeah.
again, it was like the karma wheel, right? Okay, you didn't learn your lesson the first time, so we're going to give it to you again and see if you can learn it this time. And so I endured the fear of acupuncture and I saw results in 8 weeks. And she says, don't come back. You're fine. I'm like,
Yeah. So that's actually an amazingly short period of time to have a necrotic bone in your foot heal.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
amazing. Yeah.
I know.
But
I
in
know.
Western medicine, people are so used to, I take ibuprofen and 45 minutes later my headache is gone, that it's really hard for them to conceive that you may need to take something for 4 weeks, 6 weeks to even see a significant enough change. What is the kind of the general rule of thumb is like 1 month for every year that you had the problem at least, right? So if you have a dog who has had, I don't know, chronic diarrhea for 3 years, and you decide to take a holistic path to treatment and start using herbs or something else, well, it may take 3 months before you see a truly significant improvement. But
yeah, I would say
when you're working with the body,
maybe longer before you have.
Maybe even longer, yeah. But when you're working with the body rather than against the body, instead of an anti-diarrheal, an anti-hypertensive, an anti-diabetic, anti-everything, you're just giving your body the tools that it needs to enact that healing process and do better on a cellular and energetic level. And it takes a little bit of time.
No, it does. And that's just a good point. People have to pack their patience. But again, if you can address the root cause, and I knew what the root cause was, I got brand new shoes and I changed, what I was doing. Oh, hello.
He woke up, he shook the camera. Would you like to say hello?
Yeah. Hey, hello, handsome boy.
He's so annoyed with me.
So yeah, it's just, it's food for thought. But, I tell people all the time, the body knows how to heal itself. It's designed to do that. We have to get out of
Yes.
the way. We have to clean out the trash. That can mean detoxification or, changing the diet or whatever that looks like. We have to clean out the trash, and then we have to replace that bad stuff with the tools that it needs, proper
Hmm.
nutrition, proper supplementation. And it's not forever. It should be for a time, right? So
Yeah.
herbs and things like that, it's just to kind of be that bridge to give them the building tools that it needs, and it can rebalance and heal itself. So it's not forever, but be patient with the results because they will come if we can just get out of the way. I think we just get in our own way sometimes, and our expectations are high because we live in a world where there's instant gratification. We want it tomorrow or yesterday. It's not fast enough. Next week, next month, 6 months from now, just give me a pill. It's like, do you
Yep.
want this for a lifetime? Or do you wanna deal with it for 6 months? So, it's up to you.
Nope. I totally agree. Taking out the bad, putting in the good. I mean, I don't know. You could throw an analogy at it, right? You had a leaky pipe that allowed water to get under your floorboards and mold grew. Well,
Yes.
now you need to rip up the floor, scrape off the mold, and you have to put new flooring down. But you also have to fix your leaky pipe,
Yes.
right? You can't just put down new flooring and hope it doesn't happen again. We need to fix the root cause, which was your leaky pipe. And maybe you can't fix your leaky pipe with a hammer, you need to do it with a wrench. So make sure that you figure out the root cause, make sure that you have the right tool to fix it, and then clear out the problems that were created and replace it with healthy tissue, healthy lifestyle. I just smacked my cat in the nose. Very sorry, sir.
So, that would be like it's just a different way of thinking, but I think if pet parents start thinking like this, and if we can get vets, holistic vets especially, since they're kind of more on our side anyway, to think more like this instead of just becoming very myopic and looking at symptoms, just like conventional vets do. They just like, oh, we can throw an herb at this. I'm like, no, 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 step back. 40,000 you, why? Why is this happening? And if you're not getting a satisfactory answer, then keep digging. Go somewhere else, do a second consultation, get some different diagnostics done. Just don't give up. There's answers out there. Work with someone who can tap into things energetically. That's what I do. And just ask the body a bunch of questions, and you can get some really, really interesting information. And then you can line that up with your diagnostics that you're doing, and it starts to paint a picture that gives you a more holistic picture of what's going on, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever that might look like, and the path to take.
I think that that is a good place to end and leave people with.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to come back hopefully sometime soon and we're going to talk about homeopathy.
Yes.
But for now, I would love for you to tell people how they can contact you. What is even
Yeah.
happening? Look at this right here. I think it's
One
broken.
thing. You know, I'm not going to take the credit, but cats always tend to come in on my Zoom call meetings and things like that. So maybe he just likes our energy right now.
I think so. He's real comfy.
I
Ooh,
love it.
goofy boy.
Yeah,
So yes, how can they contact you?
no, absolutely. My website is purrrfectlyholistic.com. That's Purrrfectlyholistic.com. Pam at perfectlyholistic.com is the email if you guys want to reach out, have questions. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube under Perfectly Holistic. So yeah, reach out if you have questions. I do offer consultations. I have a great team. We offer numerous types of services in the energy space and animal communication and things like that. So we love to be of service and support to pet parents and their pets. So we work on both. It's amazing.
Awesome. Amazing. All right. Well, I will talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening. Please remember that you, yes, you, are the driving force that helps keep small businesses and platforms like mine running. So if you liked what you heard, please like, share, and most importantly, rate this podcast. It's the only way we can reach more people and spread the word about natural health. None of the conditions discussed or recommendations given are meant to replace the advice of your health provider. So if you have concerns about yourself or your pets, please confer with a human or animal health practitioner. Have a super fantastic day, and I'll see you next week.